Ooh. I'm gonna let that play for a hot second. That's pretty sweet though, right? I take my slides very, very seriously. I'm not just tall and tattooed, I'm kind of creative. This isn't my code either. Thank you for coming to my talk and being here with me. We're gonna have a seance, little did you know. Ben brought the candles, Abby's got the incense. Possessed by packages, is your JavaScript haunted? Small caveat, all JavaScript is haunted. That's just the way it is. I have a love-hate relationship with JavaScript. I've been building on the web for 30 years. I'm old in web years. I'm not as old in human years. But all JavaScript is haunted, and I truly believe it was because it was created in 10 days. A decade ago, close to a decade ago, and we are still fighting bugs that are in that old school JavaScript. So I have a little bit of an agenda. We're going to talk a little bit about the haunting, so kind of things to look for, the presence of something, then some signs, right? Other things to look for. And then we're going to talk about the exorcism, different ways to kind of remediate security vulnerabilities within your application, your project, your JavaScript app, whatever the case may be. Everybody like Annabelle? Is anybody a fan of Ed and Lorraine Warren? Conjuring movies? Does anybody like horror? Oh, what the hell, you don't know what I'm talking about? So I kind of think of it like this. This is the 4 levels of a possession. First off, infestation, right? So you have security vulnerabilities that get into your code, right? It's infesting your application. Then you become obsessed with trying to fix it, right? Then you feel like shit because you can't fix it. And then you have a full-blown possession and your whole stack is destroyed and you got to figure out a way to remediate that, whether that's by paying a company to have those security vulnerabilities for you or trying to fix it by yourself or rolling back versions, whatever you do. But that is kind of the 4 levels of not just a possession, but the web and software that we are building. NPM, let's talk about NPM for a minute. The Node Package Manager. It's like an endless forest, right? A creepy, haunted, endless forest that keeps going and going and going and going. Your node just like your node modules, right? Y'all have seen this. The heaviest objects in the universe, we got the sun, a neutron star, a black hole, and the node modules just keeps going and going and going and going. With that being said, if I asked you how many dependencies are in your JS app, what would you give me? What would be that number? And any number, that doesn't matter, just as long as you don't say 1, because that's bullshit. 1? A lot, yeah, a lot. Okay, how many? Give me some numbers. Infinity, thousands, 20, 30, 1.2 million, 5,000. There's a way you can check. Does everybody like playing in the terminal? I hope everybody's hands go up. Okay. You can run npm ls in your terminal within your project, and that'll give you a list of your dependencies. Right, so this is the integrated terminal inside VS Code. We just run npm ls, boom, we have dependencies, sweet. We got a handful there, that's cool, awesome. Now if I told you, you can list out all your dependencies, would you believe me? You would? Not just because I'm standing up here giving a talk, like, would you really believe me? I know some of you are like, oh, this guy's full of shit. You can. Would you want to do something like that? It depends, right? It could scroll forever. Not forever, but you could get a little bit of a buffer overload within your terminal. Your editor could crash, your terminal could crash, but you can do it. If you run npm ls-all, npm ls is the Linux command for list, and then -all to list all. So you could do it. Just type npm ls-all, and boom, it'll do it. That was quick. But it scrolls, and it scrolls, and it scrolls, and it scrolls, and it will keep scrolling, but as I was doing that, it crashed the tool I was using to record it. So it could keep going and going and going and going, and it will eventually stop, but it might not be something that you want to do on a daily basis, right? The reason I bring all of this up is because it all relates to software supply chain. This is not my code, by the way. This is just a screenshot. It all relates to software supply chain. You could think of it like a big Jenga tower. One crack in one of those packages just snowballs. We've had a lot of problems. It seems like every single day we're waking up to an NPM attack, like right now, right? But software supply chain is all of the people and the processes and the certifications and the licenses and the code and all of this stuff that makes up your project is software supply chain. Is anybody working in software supply chain? Put your hand up. Okay, I got a better question for you. Who is building open source software today? Put your hand up. Supply chain, supply chain, supply chain, supply chain, supply chain, supply chain. It's all of those pieces that are being used across the board in other packages. That's what makes up software supply chain. So let's talk about the haunting for a little bit. Who is familiar with this term? Typo squatting. A couple, handful, sweet. So what typo squatting is, it's when an attacker registers a package that is off by a letter or has too many letters. What does that look like? Well, there's two different ways this happens. Domain names and NPM packages, or Py packages, or NuGet, whatever. Maven, Gradle. Let's say, for instance, you open Chrome or Firefox or Edge or whatever the browser of choice is, flavor of the week, and you go in your address bar and you type guthub.com. How many of you have done that? If you didn't put your hand up, you're a liar. The I and the U are right next to each other, and you know we always try to type fast and seem like hackers, especially when people are around us. Like, yeah, I can type fast. What are you doing? Oh, I'm hacking your shit. I think, does anybody work at GitHub here? Okay, I think GitHub does own guthub.com, but if they didn't, guthub.com is a domain that could have been registered by a malicious attacker. If you're not paying attention, and if you do go to guthub.com, it does redirect to github.com, but they will wrap the whole entire website into the same functionality, the same look, everything. So if you're not paying attention, you're logging in, and now you just lost creds. They could be stealing API keys, etc. That's one way. Second way is with NPM packages. Typing something, missing a letter, etc., or if you're a junior, mid, or even a senior, and you go to type in npm install whatever, you could mess it up or install the wrong package that you think is the right package. So that's kind of how that happens, right? We're lackadaisical. We're cutting corners. We're lazy developers. We don't need to go to the NPM's registry. We don't need to go to the product page to copy and paste npm install express, because we probably all have installed npm install express more than once in our lifetime. Right or wrong? Right. There was a big one that happened with cross env. Does anybody remember cross env? So cross env, it was with the dash, and a malicious attacker registered a npm package that was cross env. It was wrapped in the same exact functionality, worked the same. Behind the scenes, it was stealing. It was either AWS credentials or API keys behind the scene. No one was the wiser until people started getting affected, systems started getting affected. That is an example of typo squatting, and it happens all over. It doesn't matter what JavaScript library or framework you're using. Excuse me, this happens. Dependency confusion. Is anybody familiar with dependency confusion? Who is not familiar with the term dependency confusion? Please raise your hand. Okay, cool. So dependency confusion. Nearly 49% of organizations are exposed to risks of a dependency confusion, and I'll get into what that is in a minute. This is another cool little meme I like. And life is like an NPM install. You never know what you're going to get. It's very, very true. Dependency confusion is where you get into a situation where you go to install a package. NPM, your system, your configuration does not go to your private registry to install it. It goes to a public registry to install it. And the way that happens is that if your system is not configured properly, meaning your npm RC file or your CI/CD platform, it can install the wrong package. The way npm works is if you have two packages that look alike, one has a higher version number, npm is dumb, and npm is going to say to itself, well, the higher version number must mean it's the latest version. And that latest version is the malicious package that you end up installing. So there's a couple ways to get around this. Configuring your npm RC file to only pull from your private registry, making sure that CI/CD is set up to only pull from the private registry, and to scope your packages if you're building anything internally, right? So what does that look like? You have the @ scope, so that would be at your org or whatever the package is, so like Vue or Angular, React, your company name, / your package, whatever that package may be. Let's talk about backdoors. Is everybody familiar with a backdoor? Who's not familiar with backdoor? Put your hand up. Okay, that's fine. I could talk about backdoors all day long, but there is a movie that I'm going to show, a little clip of a movie, one of my favorite movies, that has the best explanation of a backdoor possible. Does everybody know that movie? What is it? War Games. All right. Love it. Do what?
Joshua's the password.
There you go. Spoiler! Thanks. Appreciate that. Oh, jeez. War Games, a great movie. Who's seen the movie Hackers? That was the movie that got me started in this whole entire thing we call the web and software. Started with QBasic, worked into HTML. Who has seen the movie Sneakers? It's a good one, right? What about Antitrust? That's a great movie too. I love that movie. I'm gonna throw it back. You know, all my old school cats in here will probably know this. The Computer Wore Tennis Shoes. Not the new one. You know which one I'm talking about. Kurt Russell, old young Kurt Russell. Yeah, you got to watch it. The Computer Wore Tennis Shoes. It's really, really funny. Not the new one with Kirk Cameron or whatever the hell his name is from Growing Pains. But this is a great example of what a backdoor is, right? But there's problems with that. And problems that come along with backdoors, malware injection, right? You can get into a backdoor. Phishing attacks, getting through a backdoor. and then putting unpatched software in a backdoor that'll run, right? The movie Hackers, this is a great example. They created a worm, or a worm was created that was put inside something else, took little bits of money, all that stuff was happening through a backdoor. Supposed to end up in a bank account offshore. They were finally able to get that remediated and hack the hacker that was doing it. So a little bit of a history of backdoors. So backdoors kind of started off as trapdoors in the 60s, 70s, right? This is when they were legitimate. They weren't really that bad. In the 80s, that shifted. That's when you had the Morse worm from 1988. If you're not familiar with the Morse worm, definitely check that out. Moved into the 1990s when the government started using backdoors for their work. The 2000s, you kind of seen the advent of hackers, Trojan horses being injected into backdoors. And modern day, you're seeing a lot of this in IoT and cloud. So that's just a little bit of a history of backdoors. The problems that can arise from malicious attackers figuring out and finding backdoors, creating their own backdoors, security on top of security, data and privacy loss, that's something that your company doesn't want, right? Operational damage, hug ops. Financial damage. How many of you have gotten a letter in the mail or an email saying, oh, this company was breached, you might be entitled to so much more money because you're, right? This stuff happens. System integrity. I talked to someone, I just came from a conference the other day. It's called TechX. Is anybody from California? San Jose area, maybe? No? Cool. So yeah, there's a conference in California. There's actually 3 of them. There's one in London, Amsterdam, and San Jose. It's called TechX, and it's like 5 events in one. And I gave a talk on cybersecurity, cyber and cloud security. Right? Someone come up to me, and they were asking me about system integrity and how like a whole entire system of theirs, their accounts, everything were completely terminated because of an attack. I was like, oh, geez, I'm not a hacker. Like, I am not a hacker. I've been a front-end developer for 30 years and a senior developer advocate for plenty of those years. But it happens, right? Getting locked out of accounts being deleted, databases being dropped with no backups. And if you don't have a backup of your database, I don't know what to tell you. But system integrity is a big one. Legal risks. You are entitled to a lawsuit or entitled to money, right? People suing companies over these things. It happens. So let's talk about the symptoms a little bit. Weird shit like this could go on. Like, let's be real, right? We all just heard about the VS Code extension NPM attack that happened yesterday, right? That's kind of a big deal. Because I quit VS Code on my machine yesterday to work on one of the demos for this, and I couldn't even open up VS Code anymore. I'm like, oh, that shit's not good. That's not good at all. Finally, after a couple reboots, I waited a little bit. I think they fixed it because my VS Code actually updated, and everything seems like it's working now. Knock on wood. Oh, I hope they don't think I'm knocking on the... Sorry, Pratik. But stuff like that can happen. Package writes, package lock, stuff getting written to your package lock, inbound and outbound network calls. You could sort of think of it like poltergeist, right? Once the attackers are here, they're here. Anybody a fan of this movie? Love it. Love it. There's a tool out there that you can monitor some of these inbound and outward calls. It's called Little Snitch. That's what it's called. It's called Little Snitch. And I don't know why. My computer is not here. I'm here in Michigan. But you can see all the inbound and outbound calls that are happening on your machine, the download, the upload speed, top processes that are running, incoming, 60 that are unconfirmed, 0 denied, connection summary, processes, domains. This is really cool. I think they have a 7-day or a 14-day free trial. So if you want to check out Little Snitch, you can do that. Let's talk about the exorcism. I'm watching you. Let's go past NPM audit. I believe you should be doing NPM audit or Yarn audit. I do NPM audit like I do, bless you. I do NPM audit like I run a git status all the time. I run it all the time, just so I can keep myself sane with what is happening within my project. If I install something new, yeah, it will run an automatic NPM audit for you when you install something new. But it's just good just to know, right? Like you wouldn't start writing a bunch of code and not run a git status, would you? Because you might forget what you're doing. Or like you come back to a project and you forget. Use it like git status, but don't always use it all the time. It isn't the end all be all. There's sort of a 3-step process with this. People, right? Habits, they're the base of what we're doing. Security starts with an individual developer, right? At that ground level. Then you have automation, the automation layer. Scaling, tooling. And then you have trust, the highest level. Being able to trust these processes, being able to trust the code, being able to trust people, right? Sort of a 3-step process. And there's levels to this shit. There really is. Starting off with level 1. How many of you have seen this in your package JSON? Carets and tildes, right? Stop with that. I'm gonna go back because that went really quick. Boop, get rid of those. Pin your dependencies. Pinning your dependencies will keep your project consistent. So if I have something on my machine and the rando needs it, he might have a different version, I might have a different version, different security vulnerabilities in his project, different security vulnerabilities in my project. Or there's some in mine and they're not in his, vice versa. Now we're all screwed up because the software supply chain has vulnerabilities within it. So pin your dependencies. Also, commit your lock files. Why commit your lock file? Because your lock file is like a manifest, a time travel thing, guide, tells you what's in your project. It is not an SBOM. Is everybody familiar with the term SBOM? No. Okay, so an SBOM is a software bill of materials. It is a machine-readable JSON file that has versions, hashtags, or not hashtags, but hashes. It has certification stuff. It has a bunch of different things in it that tell you what is in your project. A package lock file and a yarn lock file and package files are not SBOMs. You cannot say, Chris, we have a package JSON and a package lock or a yarn lock or a bun lock, so we have an SBOM. No, you do not have an SBOM. Your SBOM is made up of your node modules and those lock and package files, but it is not your SBOM. You can think of an SBOM like a recipe for a meal. All the pieces that go in it, a flight manifest, a package manifest, that's what an SBOM is. Committing your lock files will make sure that the projects I'm running, or the project I'm running, the code I'm writing, is going to be consistent with the rando, right? We're doing the same exact thing by committing that. And everybody in the team can have that consistency going forward. Scope it. Scope your projects or your packages. So if you're building out maybe design systems, you see this a lot with design systems, like Material, Tailwind, right? At whatever / cool button, at whatever / accessible modal, right? Scope the packages that you're building and register them with a private registry, whether that's NPM, that can be Artifactory, that could be Nexus from Sonar type, but just make sure that you're registering a private package. Be wary of post-install scripts. That's a big one. So if you see this in your package JSON, you could look at it, but there's 2 of these kind of install scripts. There's a pre and a post. A pre-install script, what that is going to do, it's going to ping your company's project or server, whatever, and see how big of a deal you are. If you are minimal, with minimal security, that's not good. If you are heavy in security and it's kind of locked down, what that pre-install script is going to do, it's going to ping back to the malicious attacker's server, and it's going to say, hey, chill, we're going to lay down in the cut, and we're going to wait until the door is unlocked. So a pre-install script, it'll ping it, blah, blah, blah. It'll say, hey, lay in the cut, wait till the door is unlocked, and then we're going to fire a payload. That payload is your post-install script. Once that post-install script runs, before you even open up your code editor, you are screwed. Straight up. So be wary of pre- and post-install scripts. You have two options to kind of help with this, though. One of them is using PNPM. Right, PNPM, by default, ignores pre- and post-install scripts. Where's Alex? You know what I'm talking about. Or you can just ignore the scripts. Like, there's tooling that you can use within your terminal to ignore the scripts. We have npm install, package name, -- ignore scripts. We have ignore scripts equals true. And then we have npm config set ignore scripts to true. Well, how does this break down? npm install, package name, ignore scripts is at the command line level. So if you're working in your terminal, whatever terminal that is, whether it's Warp or Ghosty or iTerm2 or Windows Subsystem for Linux, as long as you can run Linux commands, that's the command line level. This is the npm rc level. So if you are setting up an npm rc file to do a little config, you can put that in there. And then we have like a global config level that you can set within your terminal. npm config set ignore scripts true. There's also another Node CLI tool out there called Can I Ignore Scripts? It'll kind of go through everything and tell you what you can ignore, what you're okay to ignore. So you can check that out if you wanted to. Moving on to level 2, software composition analysis tooling. SCA. Is anybody using SCA tools today? No hands, cool. Here's another follow-up. How many of you are using GitHub? All right, you have software composition analysis tools inside GitHub, and you're using them today. We call it Dependabot. How many of you are getting Dependabot emails on the daily, and they're annoying as shit? I do. This is a Dependabot alert for like my blog, I don't know. But it tells you the issues, it tells you the versions, it tells you the transitive dependency, how it was introduced, in what package and what version. There's a bunch of cool information in here. And you get that out of the box because you use GitHub, right? And if you're not using like a paid version, I think Enterprise costs money. I don't use the Enterprise version anymore. But you get this out of the box. There's another cool tool from Sneak. This is free. Is everybody familiar with Sneak? Cool. So Sneak has a tool where you can pull in a project from GitLab or GitHub. So this is just a talk I do called Close Encounters of the Data Kind. It's on displaying and deploying UFO data to the cloud. I pull that in, I check the package JSON. This runs a scan for me, and it tells me all of the issues. It tells me severity levels, it gives me a score, it tells me packages. Upgrading to a package will fix so many issues, right? It's really, really cool. So if you're not familiar with this tool by Sneak and you need to run software composition analysis, see where you're kind of at with your project as far as security goes, that's really, really cool to use as well. Security policies. Everybody have a security policy on their team? Okay, cool. One of the ways you can do that, if you don't, is also GitHub. Comes built in. You can protect your branches. You can do rule set names, enforce the status active, bypass list, target branches, all this cool stuff that you can do inside GitHub. So you need so many reviews before you can push a change or merge or turn off squashing, turn on squashing. All of those different things that you can do inside the rule sets within GitHub. There's other tools out there, different Node.js processing tools. You could use eBPF. Even though eBPF is Linux-based, it can help you on the front end with some things. So that could be something to look into as well. Now we have level 3, SALSA, supply chain levels for software artifacts. Is everybody familiar with the term salsa? Not the shit you eat. I love salsa. Chips and salsa, pff. Add that to my list of food, please. Thank you, sir. So this is kind of the breakdown of it, right? It's a security framework, a checklist of standards and controls to prevent tampering, improve integrity, and secure packages and infrastructure. It's how you get from quote unquote safe enough to being as resilient as possible at any link in the chain. Chances are, if you are doing anything with security, you are probably following some level of SALSA, and you might not know it. It's not something you install, right? It's just a framework, it's a checklist. It's a thing to do while you are building and shipping software. There's a handful of levels to it. I kind of add a level 0 and a level 4. If you're a nerd, you would say there's 3 levels or 4 levels, whatever. I don't do that zero-based stuff. I don't have time for it. But we start at the bottom, right? Level 0. At this level, you're sort of haunted, right? You have no security in place whatsoever, at all, okay? Then you have your provenance level, right? Creating a digital paper trail, showing how the package was built. And you have your validation level, preventing unauthorized changes, using a hosted build service, etc. Then you have your hardening level, isolating the build environment, completely blocking, sophisticated ghost attacks. And then you have your North Star. In my opinion, you're level 4. You're fortified. We are rock solid. Nothing can get to us. We are completely cut off. Everything is good. Nothing will ever be 100% secure. Nothing will ever be 100% accessible. Nothing will ever be 100% performant. But it is our job to try to achieve that. I'm going to repeat myself when I say that. It is our job to do that. And I'll get into what I mean when I say that in a little bit. Make sure that you have a team policy. Enforce it and stop cutting corners. We cut corners all too often. Whether it's security, performance, or accessibility. We cut corners all the time. We have to stop cutting corners. No one cares about those 3 things that all fall under the UX umbrella until shit hits the fan. What are we doing? Think about that. What are we doing? We're too preoccupied with story points, in Jira sprints, getting laid off. Sad reality, but it is what it is. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Hopefully everybody in here has a gig, and if not, you're busting your ass to find a job because your job is to find a job. You're worried about getting yelled at by your team, getting yelled at by your manager, getting yelled at by your CEO, your project manager, your product owner. We don't take the time to think about what we are doing and how we are impacting the lives of people around us. We are ambassadors to our users. We are ambassadors to the world because of these 2 things right here, or your feet, or however you interact with a machine, whether that's through voice or touch. At the end of the day, we could be shipping software that is going to save someone's life in a medical situation. But we don't think about that. At the end of the day, we are shipping software that could help somebody read in an educational situation. But we don't think about that. We're too concerned with ourselves. We are too concerned with Jira sprints and paychecks, and we all want a paycheck. We need to take a step back and think about what we are doing because we are ambassadors to the users. We are ambassadors to the world, And not to quote Silicon Valley, but we are trying to make the world a better place. Enforce it. Stop cutting corners. This is a great quote by Endor Labs. Risk is risk. It does not matter what we are doing. Anytime we open up our code editor, anytime we install a package, anytime we go to a domain, we are risking an attack. That is just the way it is. Keep that in mind. Keep that in mind when you're writing and building and shipping. I've got some takeaways for you. Assume nothing. You can't assume anything. Like I said, risk is risk. Endor Labs said it. We're all going at this by the seat of our pants. None of us are experts. I don't care who you are. We are all learning on a daily basis. There is shit I learned yesterday that I didn't know the day before. And there's shit I'm learning today that I didn't know yesterday. And there's going to be shit I'm going to learn tomorrow, in the next day, in the next day. It doesn't matter if it's in tech or not. Whatever your hobby is. I learn a new fishing technique. I also play competitive paintball. I learn a better way to stand behind a bunker. Right? You learn a better way to structure your sentence in a story. Doesn't matter. Pin your versions. Make sure that you're pinning your versions. Get rid of your carets and your tildes, stuff like that. Commit your lock files. Scope your private packages. Implement software composition analysis tooling. Look at Salsa. Try to implement Salsa. I'm going to leave you with a quote, and hopefully you all know exactly what it is. Sometimes shit happens. Someone has to deal with it. And who are you going to call? Ghostbusters! See, that's why I had you do the whole Ghostbusters things for me. That's my time. Thank you.